Hello and welcome to our first show of the day here on FLW TV. It's Friday morning, which means only one thing. It is the betting show with myself, George Harbey, as ever. I'm joined by Ben Wignall. Ben, how are you getting along?
I'm all right, yeah. It's nice to come into one of these off the back of a PNE win, because I don't think we've done one before without them winning. So yeah, it's good to be talking about some tips. Hopefully I can keep my run of bankers going.
Yeah, it's the first time for everything. And also, Chris, how you doing, mate?
Yeah, not bad, thanks. I'm hoping to improve from my last time on. I wasn't too good, but we'll see how it goes today.
Yes, we've got the Championship, League One and League Two all back in action today. Thank God for that. Make sure, as always, to leave your comments below and see if you agree with us, or don't slam us too much if we get anything wrong, or you don't agree with anything. Make sure also you subscribe to FLW TV on YouTube, and also make sure to please gamble responsibly and make sure you're 18 and over. Right, as ever, let's get into the banker. So we'll kick off then, as ever, with Ben Wignall. Ben, who's your banker this weekend?
I think last week I got pretty good value with Reading. I think they were around 23-20, and they just about beat Barnsley. And I thought it was a bit of a struggle this week to pick one. There's a lot of like ever in the EFL, a lot of tough games to call, and I've landed on Luton at home to beat Hull. It's not much of a price. It's 17-20. I found the best price with a decent bookmaker, Betfred. I think the late goal against Derby they got in midweek will perhaps spur them on. They've been in pretty decent form as well. They've beat Millwall last week, battered Coventry a few weeks ago before the international break 5-0. So getting back to Kenilworth Road, coming up against a team that lost against Peterborough the other night, so I think Hull is in really bad nick and they've not really got much confidence. They've lost Tom Huddleston for a few weeks now as well, so that's a midfield general lost, and I just think that Luton will probably have a little bit too much for Hull on the day, and it's 17-20, which is pretty short, but it's the one I've landed on for this weekend.
It's a banker for a reason. As you said, 17-20 there. Luton to win at home to Hull. Make sure you get in the comments. Do you agree with Ben's selection there? Chris, what's your banker for the weekend?
I've gone for West Brom against Bristol City. Again, it's not a good price at all, really. I think 2-5, 1-2. But in terms of, if you're looking at the fixtures, I think that's the team I think are going to win. So if you get them in a ACCA, you'll obviously boost the prices up. But I think the table perfectly reflects where the two teams are. I think West Brom will be pushing for top two come the end of the season, and Bristol City will be lower, bottom half, but avoid relegation. So I think that shows there's a gap in quality. I think the Albion forwards are starting to click, whether it's Grant now, has been Robinson. I just think they're too good for them, especially with home advantage where they haven't lost this season.
Absolutely, I think I agree with that one as well. I was going to go West Brom. I was also going to go with Sunderland, but I've gone with Wycombe at home to Crewe this weekend. Wycombe obviously have a very, very good home record. They've won every single game at home this season in League One, 5 wins from 5, scored 11. And they're facing Crewe this weekend. Crewe have, in contrast, a very poor away record. Haven't won on the road this season. They've only won one game all season long. So on paper, it certainly looks like it will be a comfortable Chairboys victory. I just think they've got such a good fortress mentality at Adams Park, and I just cannot see that run coming to an end this weekend. As I said, it's a short price, but our bankers normally are. We want to get them winning and get that as safe as possible. So yeah, Wycombe at home to Crewe, 11-20. Let's move on to our accumulators. This is where things start to get a bit more interesting. Ben, let's go over your accumulator this weekend.
Yeah, mine didn't go too well last week. I think only 2 of them came in. But Luton will be on it, obviously, as my banker. They're the first team. Then delving into League One, I'm going to stick with Ipswich again after they're one of the 2 teams to let me down last week with that late goal against Cambridge. Fleetwood haven't been doing too bad recently with their opponents at Portman Road. They've been scoring quite a few goals, but they lost to Burton in midweek, so that'll have given Simon Grayson and Coenock and Ipswich, even though they did draw last week, they're slowly finding their feet. They emphatically beat Portsmouth 4-0 on Tuesday, which was pretty eye-catching. So it'd be disappointing if they can't win back on home soil. Sticking in League One, I've got with Sunderland as well at home to Charlton. This could be obviously Sunderland are in good form, but it could be a risky one because you never know what bounds Charlton could have under Johnny Jackson. Obviously with Nigel Adkins being sacked. But I just think that Sunderland are too strong for a lot of teams in this division. They've got so much strength in depth, especially going forward, and I think they might just have be a bit too good in the attacking areas. And finally, I've got a League Two team. I thought League Two was very tough to weigh up this week because it's a tough league to predict anyway. Walsall, another team who've found their feet in recent weeks. They've got goals coming all over the pitch now. Connor Wilkinson's finding his form, and they're playing a Barrow team that have not won in the last 3 games, and they seem to be quite inconsistent. Walsall at home in that one. So I've 4 teams there. Calculates about 13-1 with Betfred. So you stick a tenner on that, she'll come around 139, 140 quid back.
They are not bad odds for a 4-forward at all. Might have to go with that, Ben, without giving you too much credit. Chris, what are you going with this weekend?
Yeah, well, obviously I stuck West Brom in, and I've also followed you with Wickham, and I've had, it was the third one that we've already covered there, Luton. So yeah, we're all pretty much on the same page with those 3. So other than that, I've gone Bournemouth to beat Huddersfield. That quite a tough fight. Huddersfield, you've got to give them a lot of credit for where they are in the league. I'm completely surprised to see them in the top 6. So, but after this amount of games, it's not a fluke. They're well organised. They're tough to beat, and the Corbrand's doing a great job. But I think in terms of quality, again, it's Bournemouth. The squad's just so good. They're obviously flying at the top, unbeaten at home. And again, I just think they'll have too much for them on the day. So they'll be the 4th team. And the final one was Sheffield United. Unfortunately, it's on the Sunday, so you never like waiting a day, do you, for the last one to come in? But I think they're 11-10 to beat Barnsley away, and they're missing Gibbs White through suspensions. That's going to be a big blow. But I think that, again, you just look at the quality in the squad. They've got goals. They've right back might be a problem with a few injuries, but against the Barnsley side, that there's just a lot of trouble going on there, isn't there, at the minute? The manager's doesn't seem to be getting his ideas across, and I think with a big away end, I think Sheffield United will hopefully finish it off well on the Sunday.
Let's hope so. 11-1. That is a good odds that again for a 5-forward. I've gone with the usual suspects there. You've mentioned Wickham, Luton, Ipswich. I've gone with Sunderland now. To be fair, I'm being a bit two-faced there because I never really like betting against teams who've just sat their manager in. Obviously, Charlton has sat Nigel Atkins, but I just think that the turnaround. I mean, Johnny Jackson's got a tune out of his players when he's been caretaker manager before, but I just think that Sunderland are in such a good place at the moment. I think they sit second at the moment, won emphatically at Crewe midweek, and at home they look like beating anyone. I think Alex Pritchard is fit after having 3 assists in the week. I think he's fit, and McGeady is as well, and obviously Ross Stewart up top is a threat. And as I said, Charlton are out of sorts at the moment, expecting some sort of bounce. I don't think he'll be as easy as what it would have been under Atkins, but I do think that Sunderland have got more enough to beat Charlton this weekend. And I've also gone with League Two. As you said, Ben, League Two is a tough division to pick this week, but I've gone with Port Vale at home to Colchester. Port Vale have been very good at home this season, only lost 1 game. They're in a decent place at the moment. I think they've only lost 1 of the last 8 games, which was a 4-3 defeat at Sutton, a bit of a freak result. Currently sit 4th, want to get into that top 3 in League Two. Colchester, to be fair, their away form, Colchester's has carried them a little bit. The home form's been dreadful, but they've only lost once away from home, Colchester. But I just do think that Port Vale at Vale Park will hopefully do the job. So that's 12-1. As you said, it's a very similar list to the other guys, but great minds think alike. Right, let's move on to our what value tip. So it gets interesting. Ben, let's go with your value tip for this weekend then.
Yeah, well, off the back of 2 bad results, I think Ports have been favourites away at Accrington's pretty strange one. Accrington obviously beat Charlton last time out in midweek, which is impressive. I know Charlton are obviously down at the bottom of the table, but still to beat a team with a squad like theirs and comparing the budgets, is still a very good result. They beat Ipswich a few weeks back as well. They have had some bad defeats in there with Oxford and Wigan. I think they got beat 5-1 by Oxford, 4-1 by Wigan. So they're very inconsistent, but you know what you're going to get with John Coleman's team. Is a very hard-working, seem to be in a good place right now. And at 2-1 at home against a team who've lost both the last 2 games by 3 or 4 goals, I think it's just too good to pass up that 2-1. I couldn't really see anything else in the EFL that looked as good a value as that. I did have a little look at Bristol City being 8-1 away at West Brom, which was very interesting. I won't be backing that after the collapse he had against Forest in midweek. But yeah, Accrington 2-1 for me. Home supports, if that's the big value that I found.
So it's a good odds for that is for a home team. Sorry. So yeah, very interesting pick there. Chris, what's your value tip?
I've gone for Reading at Blackburn. Yeah, it's not like obviously it's value, so I think they're 16-5. And to be honest, I don't think there's much between the teams. So obviously they're away from home, and the way they played against Blackpool in the week was a bit of a concern. But prior to that, they'd found their form, they'd climbed up the table. Then they got a bit more of a settled defence now, and in like John Swift, you've got a player who can win a game on his at any moment. So yeah, again, it's looking at the table. There's not much between them. You watch them play, there hasn't been much between them. So to get Reading at those odds, I think is quite a good price, really.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. Make sure you leave your comments in, guys. Make sure you leave your picks in for this weekend and let us know what you're going with. My value tip this weekend isn't as high odds as you two, but I was absolutely shocked when I saw this price last night. It's Plymouth to win at Morecambe, 11-10. Now, as I said, it's above even, so that's I'll class as a value tip. Plymouth absolutely flying at the moment, top of League One, 3 wins on the bounce. They beat Bolton in midweek 3-0. The third goal was absolutely hilarious. If you haven't seen that, go and check it out. And also beat Oxford away at the weekend 3-1 last weekend. So at the minute they're in a really good place, and they look like beating anyone, whether that's home or away. Morecambe, meanwhile, obviously started the season okay and had a good run towards the end of September, but they've lost every game in October so far. So coming to this one, having lost the last 3 games, they have got a obviously decent striker in Cole Stockton who started the season very well. But I just think Plymouth at the moment are in such a good run of form, and obviously they're going to lose at some point or drop points at some point. But I just think that this weekend it is a crazy price for them to be 11-10. So they will certainly, I might put them in marker to boost the odds even more. But it's certainly a fantastic price. I think that is. So let's move into our final segment, which is the wild card. Yep, final segment of this show, my favourite one. Ben Wignall always picks out some obscure shouts of the wild card. So let's see what he's gone with this weekend.
Yeah, I was just looking through the little, sections on Sky Bet to see what I could find. I thought this was a pretty interesting one. Coventry to win from behind is 10-1 to beat against Derby. Now I think there's been 3 games where they've been behind and gone on to win. Obviously, the first game of the season against Forest, they were 1-0 down and 1-2-1. The Fulham game, they were 1-0 down, 1-4-1, and Reading 1-0 down, 1-2-1. So there's a bit of a pattern there, especially at the CBS Arena. Obviously, I think as well against Blackburn, obviously they drew last week and they were 2-0 down and ended up pegging it back. Kind of went a bit in reverse on Wednesday against PNE. They were 1-0 up and lost 2-1. But I think getting back to home soil, I think this could be one that perhaps comes in. Derby, obviously, they're not goal shy. They scored twice against who did they play midweek, George?
Luton.
Yeah, they've scored twice, Knight and Lawrence. So, yeah, I think it's an interesting one. I looked at half-time, full-time as well. Derby to be winning at half-time, Coventry full-time, which was 25-1. But I've just gone with the safer pick of coming from behind to win. They've got a lot of goals, Coventry all over the pitch. So, hopefully, it might be a better shout than some of my both teams going both halves one, because this one's got a bit of form behind it.
Very interesting shout. I can't see if I've ever seen that one before. Chris, what's your wild card? I mean, you've gone with quite high odds here.
I know, yeah, probably should have left it a double, but I've gone for a treble with Ipswich, Plymouth, and Wigan all to win and both teams to score in the games. So I think we all know, like Ipswich, they're scoring goals for fun, but they're also, on the whole, not keeping clean sheets. So they're playing a Fleetwood side who they've had surprising number of goals they've scored. They've scored 20 this season, so they can clearly know how to find the back of the net. So, but again, I think we mentioned Ipswich earlier. They've got a lot of quality, haven't they, in the team? So I think should come through what will be a high-scoring game. And then the only one I was a bit dubious with Wigan, because they've got a very good defensive record on the whole this season, but they're away at Wimbledon. But again, Wimbledon are scoring a lot of goals, especially at home, and So I think, again, another high-scoring game. And the final one was Plymouth. You mentioned the odds for them to win outright, which was, I think that's right. They are very good odds as the league leaders. But again, Morecambe, you look at the goals they've scored, and they've been involved in 47 goals, scored 23 themselves this season. So they're a great watch, and I think they've got more than enough to score against Plymouth. So I think you're keeping the bigger teams on side, or the favourites on side, with both teams to score. And at 55-1, it's worth £1 or so, isn't it? I hope.
You've tempted me there, to be honest. That is the way you've explained it. I might have to go with that, to be fair. That treble is 55-1. Make sure you leave your comments in and get your thoughts on that. The final pick of the show is mine, and it's the George's Wildcard. Morecambe, Plymouth, I definitely expect there to be goals. As I said, Plymouth are scoring goals for fun at the moment and winning games for fun as well. Morecambe, though, you said, they've involved in so many goals, and the last 3 defeats they've scored. It's been 4-3, 3-2, and 3-1. So they are still scoring goals, and then they drew 3-all with Accrington as well not so long ago. So lost 4-3 at home to Morecambe. So they don't know when they're beaten. I know they've lost a few games, of course, but they don't know when to stop scoring even. And obviously in Cole Stockton, they've got a fantastic striker there who, if fit, will certainly should find the back of the net. My other game in that double, over 3.5 goals, is Harrogate versus Hartlepool. Again, Harrogate have started the season really well, and they're scoring goals, but they're not finding their feet defensively. I mean, they drew home to Tranmere last time 2-2. You beat Scunthorpe home 6-1. You look at Hartlepool, they made Victoria Park a real fortress this season. Obviously went to Bradford in midweek and won 3-1. I just think, as I always say, when they've got a feeling there's going to be goals, I think there'll be goals. So I think that's 13-1 on Sky. Morecambe, Plymouth, and Harrogate, Hartlepool over 3.5 goals in that game. Right then, that brings an end to the betting show. Friday again, finally. Thank you for watching. We've got another show later on. It's looking at the weekend action in further detail with Sam, Alfie and Marcus. That's kicking off at 2:30. As always, thank you very much for watching. Make sure if you're watching back on repeat later, leave your comments and drop us a subscribe on YouTube. Until later on, take care.